Hello everyone, this is Dr. Anuradha Udumudi, Director, GeneTech Laboratories. Today, let us talk about genetic basis of autism, autism spectrum disorder and hyperactivity syndrome. The symptoms of autism could include hyperactivity, impulsiveness, repetitive behavior, poor social skills and poor communication skills. And there are many families where children show these symptoms and can be classified as autism spectrum disorder symptom. All over the world, the prevalence of autism is increasing day by day, and it is estimated that around 1 in 100 children could be affected with autism spectrum of symptoms. Now, this autism, which is a neurodevelopmental condition, could be both due to non-genetic and genetic causes. Non-genetic causes are usually environmental in nature, where there is an exposure to the child either as a child or during development or while the child is in the womb of the mother. So there are several maternal conditions like nutrition, age of the mother, weight of the mother, infections during pregnancy that could result in autism. The genetic part, however, comprises around 40 to 50% of cases where there is a genetic basis, or the cause could be because of a genetic change or a mutation. There are several genes that affect neurodevelopmental conditions and how the brain and the nervous system develops starting from the conception and after the birth during the development of the child. Many genes such as MAPK1, K3, SHANK3, CDH, there are several genes that are associated with the development of the brain and its function. When these genes are disrupted, it could result in autism. The kind of disruption that we generally see in autistic children is of two types. One is called a copy number variation, where a small part of the chromosome could be either deleted or duplicated. These are very small changes that occur on our 46 chromosomes, and these changes, which are called as micro deletions and duplications, could result in autism because the more important genes that are responsible for neural development are either lost or duplicated. So there is an imbalance, and whenever there is a copy number variation that results, it could show up as a feature of autism. Now, this can be diagnosed by certain genetic tests called in a laboratory as cytomicroarray. It is a DNA test where the chromosomes are studied and very minute changes on these chromosomes are picked up by this cytomicroarray test. The other section of the genetic changes that we see in autism are single nucleotide variations. These are changes that occur at single gene level, very minute level, and when there is a change on the code of these genes, it might result in autism. So these changes are also called as mutations. We have to sequence these genes and identify mutation. This is generally done by a technology called next generation sequencing, where multiple genes are sequenced and mutations in those genes which are responsible for autism are identified. Whether it is a copy number variation or a single nucleotide variation, which is a change in the genetic code, these genetic conditions can be both sporadic, which is as an accidental event, or can be inherited conditions. Now, to understand whether a genetic change is inherited and could pass on to next generation or can happen again in next pregnancy, we need to undergo what is called a genetic counseling and a genetic consultation session, which helps us gather all the family information, look at the genetic changes that are reported in the test, and then come to a conclusion whether this genetic problem is heritable or not, and whether there is a risk for future pregnancies for the family or to other family members who might be at risk. And based on that, there are several options that can be provided. We can provide prenatal diagnosis in future pregnancies, where in the first few months of pregnancy we can do the test such as amniocentesis and other tests, where we will be able to diagnose whether the baby in the womb has autism or not. This is provided for all those conditions where the genetic change is proved to be a heritable condition. Sometimes it is required to test the parents also, who might be not showing any symptoms and they are unaffected carriers. So there are different inherited methods, processes that occur in our body, and depending on whether it is dominant, recessive or X-linked, the risk for next pregnancy varies, and we will counsel the patients accordingly. It is extremely important to get genetic diagnosis done for autism and autism spectrum conditions, because it not only helps in prevention of another child with autism in the family, it also helps the child because it gives more information about what is the root cause and how do we and also it gives lot of information about the prognosis, which is how this disease is going to progress, and therefore the management can be altered in such a way that the side effects can be minimized as much as possible, and it can enable better management of autistic children. Thank you so much.